A corridor of shadows. Walls rising like cathedral arches. Candles flicker in the draft as if they sense what is coming. From
Mm.
far away, a voice emerges. Not sung, but spoken. Latin, solemn, wrapped in echo.
Yeah.
And then a strike,
Yeah.
a bass note, deep and steady, the heartbeat of the night. This isn't just a sound, it's an invitation, right,
Right.
to a different kind of experience, something really unique.
It really beckons, doesn't it? It's like a forgotten chant suddenly remembered, but woven into the very fabric of, the modern world.
Exactly. It's a sound that just defies easy categorization.
It really does.
Absolutely. Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we plunge headfirst into the most intriguing corners of culture, history, and, yeah, often sound itself.
Always fun.
Today, we're taking that deep dive into the unique, mysterious, and, well, enduring world of E Nomine. For you, our listener, this is more than just a musical journey. It's sort of an unraveling of layers, an exploration of a phenomenon that sculpted these soundscapes out of ancient reverence and, modern rebellion.
Yeah, proving that the most profound art often emerges from the most audacious fusions, right?
Totally.
What's truly fascinating here, I think, is how they managed to bridge worlds that, on the surface seemed entirely incompatible.
Right. Not just instruments.
No. We're talking about intertwining philosophical and emotional realms. We're going to discover how two producers in post-reunification Berlin created a sound that seamlessly combined monumental choirs, the solemnity of ancient Latin, and the raw power of, thundering electronic beats.
And it really sparks your curiosity when you think about their debut single,
Yeah.
The Lord's Prayer, delivered with this commanding authority, set it against a relentless pounding beat.
Yeah, how did that happen?
How did that become a chart topper in Germany, and yet at the same time a subject of such intense, even furious controversy?
It's wild.
And maybe the biggest mystery of all.
Yeah.
Why years after their, seemingly sudden and unexplained disappearance from the music scene, did their sound not just persist, but find this new, timeless resonance, captivating new generations even today?
It's incredible. This deep dive, I think, is fundamentally a journey into how music can transcend genre, time, and maybe even the original intentions of its creators, becoming, as our source material puts it so well, a ritual for those who hear it.
A ritual, I like that.
Yeah. It's about more than just songs. It's about an experience, a transformation of space and perception where the sacred and the profane just dance hand in hand.
Okay, so to really get a handle on E Nomine's audacious vision, we need to understand the backdrop, right?
Yeah.
Berlin in the late 1990s. The source describes it as a city alive like few places on Earth.
You can almost feel that energy, can't you?
Yeah, that kinetic energy. A city raw, restless, still new to its own reunification, constantly reinventing itself. What a powerful canvas for new art.
It's more than just descriptive, though. It points to something really profound socioculturally.
Right.
The wall had fallen less than a decade before,
Right.
unleashing this incredible surge of freedom and a desperate hunger to redefine identity after decades of division. Berlin wasn't just a city. It was this vast open-air laboratory, a crucible for new experiences, radical experimentation.
Wow.
Imagine the potential in a city where empty buildings, remnants of a divided industrial past, were turning into vibrant dance temples overnight.
Dance temples.
Yeah. This wasn't just renovation. It was an act of cultural reinvention, reshaping urban decay into these hubs of vibrant, unfettered creativity and expression.
And right at the heart of that reinvention, that collective, almost primal energy, you had things like the Love Parade.
Oh, yeah.
The source describes it thundering down the Strasse 17, Juni, uniting 1 million people in a single pulsating mass.
Yeah.
That's not just a party, is it?
No way. That's a living statement, a collective communion on an almost unimaginable scale. It was profoundly significant because it went way beyond mere entertainment.
How so?
Well, the Love Parade symbolized this new era of collective energy, shared freedom, and a newly unified city. It wasn't just about the music or the dancing. It was about a shared emotional, almost spiritual release, forging a new collective identity after decades of separation, ideological divides.
1 million people moving as one,
Yeah.
driven by a beat.
Exactly. Shedding old skins, embracing a radical future. It was this tangible, visceral expression of Berlin's raw, renewed spirit, a public ritual of freedom, really.
And then the clubs. Places like Trezor, eWork, WMF. These weren't just venues, were they? The source calls them sanctuaries for the devoted followers of the beat.
That's incredibly strong language, sanctuaries.
It really is. Beyond just devotion, What was it about those places that made them feel almost sacred, but in a secular way? What drew people in so deeply?
Well, Sanctuary really highlights the almost spiritual reverence that defined the electronic music culture back then.
Hmm.
These clubs were way more than commercial spaces. They were these transformative environments where, like, the mundane just faded away.
Right.
Inside, the sensory immersion was total, almost overwhelming. Light strobes cut the air like lightning, fragmenting reality. The bass wasn't just heard, it rattled the bones, physically embedding the rhythm into your core.
You felt it.
Totally. And the atmosphere itself, this heady perfume of freedom, sweat, perfume, cigarette smoke, it was almost like an intoxicating incense. It was an environment designed for total surrender to the experience, a kind of secular pilgrimage where DJs were priests and the dance floor was the altar. It blurred the lines between pure exhilaration and, well, devotion.
So you paint this incredibly vivid picture. A city exploding with new freedoms, a cultural scene where music offered this profound, almost ritualistic release.
Yeah.
It's into this fever dream of sound and reinvention that Christian Weller and Friedrich Grainer step in. Already experienced producers, right?
Yeah.
Deep in the club scene, the mechanics of a hit.
They definitely did.
But they felt something was missing, something deeper.
And this is where their insight, their real genius, started to crystallize. They understood the electronic landscape, the pulse of the crowd, the formula for a hit, absolutely. But they craved something beyond just louder or faster. They wanted something deeper, something that resonated not just with the body, but, with the soul. It wasn't just sonic intensity. It was about emotional, maybe even spiritual resonance. This yearning for something transcendent in club music that was the seed of E Nomine.
And that deep yearning led to this incredibly audacious, almost provocative question. What if we could make the energy of a cathedral live inside a club track?
I mean, that's a staggering conceptual leap, isn't it?
Totally. Taking the hallowed solemnity of ancient tradition Latin prayers, solemn choirs, and smashing it right into the ecstatic, often, let's face it, transgressive space of a late-night Berlin club.
It was an incredible, almost contradictory concept, and its audacity was its brilliance. They envisioned sacred voices, monumental choirs, Latin prayers, all set to driving electronic beats.
Yeah.
The audacious part wasn't just fusing disparate sounds, but fusing entirely different worlds and sensibilities.
Right, like oil and water usually.
Exactly. A cathedral embodies ancient tradition, reverence, a slower, contemplative pace, quiet introspection. A club, especially back then in Berlin, was about the immediate, the visceral, the collective catharsis, often seen as rebellious, transgressive. This wasn't just a stylistic choice, it was a philosophical statement, a deliberate blurring of boundaries.
Right. It's like they were saying, okay, let's take the most sacred text, the most ancient form of expression, something passed down for millennia, and put it on a dance floor where people are losing themselves in a totally different, very modern way.
Precisely.
The ambition wasn't just to make cool, innovative music. It was to create a ritual, a sound that didn't just move your body but pulled at something ancient in your soul. They wanted to create a new kind of sacred space within the secular.
That ambition is absolutely key to understanding E Nomine's lasting impact and unique appeal. They weren't just aiming for a catchy tune or a fleeting trend.
Yeah.
They wanted to craft a transcendent, almost primal experience. The inherent tension between the hallowed and the hedonistic became their core creative engine.
That tension is everything.
Yeah. This fusion promised both reverence and rebellion simultaneously, inviting listeners to engage on multiple, often surprising levels. It's a profound idea that a modern electronic beat could actually evoke something ancient, something deeply embedded in the human psyche, in all of us.
So, with this extraordinary vision taking shape, this concept blurring the sacred and the secular, what do you even call a project like that? Something both revered and rebellious? Ancient and modern. They first thought about in nomine, Latin for in the name. Our source notes the ambiguity there, a phrase that could mean anything. In the name of God, of art, of the night. That's quite a range.
That ambiguity was, I think, a deliberate and incredibly powerful choice. It immediately allowed for multiple interpretations, inviting the listener to project their own meaning, their own quest onto the music. It created this immediate sense of intrigue, like a whispered secret.
Yeah.
Then, the subtle but significant shift in spelling to E Nomine. The source says it made it more enigmatic.
How so?
Well, it distanced it slightly from the direct religious connotation of in nomine Deo, right? Allowing for a broader, more universal interpretation. Less specific.
Okay, makes sense. And the name itself, E Nomine, became more than just a label. It turned into a password, a whispered phrase that promised both reverence and rebellion.
Yeah, it sounds like they intuitively understood the power of branding, not just commercially, but in creating an identity that perfectly captured their mysterious dualistic nature.
It immediately invited you, the listener, into this clandestine world where the sacred and the secular didn't just coexist, they actively mingled.
It was a masterstroke in conceptual framing. The name wasn't just descriptive, it was an active participant in the project's mystique. It set the mood, the intellectual framework for everything that followed, hinting at hidden depths and a deliberate challenge to conventional boundaries. It primed you for an experience that would be both familiar in its sacred echoes and revolutionary in its modern execution.
Okay, so vision solidified, enigmatic name chosen. They head into a Berlin studio in 1999. The source says, "In a Berlin studio, the experiment began."
And what an experiment it turned out to be.
They started by laying down the foundation, the beats, described as a bed of deep, deliberate beats, strong but not rushed, leaving room for the story. So not just rhythm for dancing, but like narrative propulsion, a rhythmic canvas for something much bigger.
This detail about the beats being deliberate is so crucial. In an era where electronic tracks often prioritize sheer speed, relentless intensity.
Right, faster, harder.
Yeah, E Nomine chose restraint. This thoughtful pacing allowed you to really absorb the other layers, especially the vocals, which were going to carry immense narrative and emotional weight.
Right.
The beats weren't just for dancing. They were designed to create a sense of movement, to propel the story forward with this solemn, almost inexorable force.
Yeah, and then the choir. This wasn't some synth patch or generic sample library, right?
No. The source highlights it was a male choir recorded in a small old church outside Berlin.
An actual church.
Wow. Yeah. And here's where the genius comes in. The natural reverb became part of the music's DNA. Not an effect added later, but an integral, organic part of the sound itself.
That's a key artistic choice, isn't it? It speaks volumes about their commitment to authenticity and that whole cathedral on the dance floor idea.
Absolutely. By recording in a real, aged church, they instinctively captured the organic acoustics of a truly sacred space. That natural reverb wasn't just an echo. It was the breath of the architecture, the accumulated atmosphere of centuries. It imbued the sound with this tangible, almost palpable sense of ancient grandeur, solemnity, and history right from the source.
It felt genuinely hallowed, not just manufactured.
Exactly. It deepened the emotional and spiritual resonance profoundly.
And finally, the voice. Not a singer's voice, a narrator's. Someone who could speak with the gravity of prophecy.
Yeah.
Enter Christian Bruckner, famously known as the German voice of Robert De Niro. I mean, what an inspired, pivotal choice. It's like casting the lead in an epic movie.
It was nothing short of brilliant, a stroke of genius that elevated the whole project. Bruckner's delivery was described as warm yet commanding, a voice that could stop a crowd in its tracks.
Wow.
This wasn't just about finding a good voice actor. It was about finding a voice that carried inherent authority, a pre-existing cinematic gravitas that would immediately resonate with a German audience.
Because they already knew that voice from the movies.
Precisely. When the first mixes came together with these elements, the deliberate beats, the church reverb, Bruckner's voice, the immediate realization was, wow, this sounded like nothing else on the radio.
A completely new category of sound.
Totally. The meticulous choices from the pacing of the beats to the natural acoustics, and crucially, using a cinematic narrator instead of a conventional singer, it all coalesced into something genuinely groundbreaking. Unprecedented.
And that groundbreaking sound culminated in their debut album, Das Testament, 1999. The source describes it not just as an album, but as a statement of intent, the sacred manifesto.
It absolutely was.
It set the tone for everything they'd become, a declaration of their unique artistic philosophy.
It was precisely that. Das Testament wasn't just a collection of tracks, it was a profound declaration. Its thematic core was that audacious fusion of biblical imagery with thundering bass lines. This was the crucible where their whole vision, born from that unique Berlin scene, really manifested itself in audible form. Every element, the beats, the reverb, Bruckner's voice, converged here to create this cohesive, powerful, artistic statement.
And the breakthrough single from that album, Father Unser, the Lord's Prayer, this is the part that just, well, it blows my mind.
Yeah.
The source points out its totally unconventional structure. No chorus, no catchy hook, just the prayer itself delivered with absolute authority over a relentless beat. I mean, in the mainstream pop world, that's like commercial suicide.
Well, usually, yeah. It flies in the face of every conventional music industry rule.
Yeah. It became this undeniable phenomenon. The reception was incredibly, almost violently polarized.
Some critics call it brilliant, others blasphemous.
That intense opposition was precisely because it challenged deeply ingrained sensibilities, both religious and musical, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It took one of the most revered, intimate, universally recognized prayers, a symbol of quiet devotion, and slammed it over a driving electronic pulse usually associated with late-night clubs, anonymity, maybe even transgression for some. This wasn't just an artistic risk. It was a profound cultural provocation, daring listeners to reconcile these two seemingly irreconcilable worlds.
But the public, they decided. They didn't just embrace it. They propelled it to massive commercial success. Number 4 in Germany, gold in Austria.
Astonishing, right, for something so conceptually audacious and musically unconventional.
It powerfully proved there was an audience hungry for music that dared to be different, even if it stirred controversy. They weren't just buying a song, they were buying into an experience, maybe even a challenge to their own perceptions of sacred and secular.
That commercial success absolutely underscored that point. It revealed a significant chunk of the audience that wasn't just receptive, but actively craving a sound that was both challenging and deeply resonant.
Yeah.
It showed music could push extreme boundaries without sacrificing popular appeal. That whole cathedral on the dance floor concept had genuine, widespread appeal beyond niche subcultures, and other tracks on Das Testament carried that same gravitas.
Right, like E Nomine, denn sie wissen nicht, was sie tun, which echoed with moral weight and cinematic flair, and Opus Magnum, which felt like a storm gathering over a cathedral dome. Each song, as the source notes, was like a chapter in an ancient book, but one wired into the sound system of a Berlin warehouse party.
What a perfect description. It totally encapsulates the album's unique character and lasting power. It wasn't just about individual tracks, it was how they collectively built this coherent narrative, almost a spiritual journey through ancient texts and modern rhythms.
Yeah.
And a huge, arguably the most impactful part of this narrative power, as we touched on, came from their inspired choice of vocalists.
Yes, the pantheon of voices, as the source calls it. The magic wasn't from unknown session speakers reading lines, but from the titans of German voice acting. A deliberate, strategic choice to imbue the music with profound, undeniable gravitas and that sense of cinematic epicness.
It was a truly brilliant and insightful strategic decision, a masterclass in adding inherent authority. They weren't just looking for someone who could pronounce the Latin or German. They wanted voices that already carried this powerful resonance within the German cultural consciousness.
Like Christian Bruckner.
Exactly. He wasn't just a voice actor. He was recognized as whose voice had carried Robert De Niro and countless Hollywood lines into German ears. His voice was synonymous with iconic cinematic performances.
And Rolf Schult, the voice of Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah. The haunting, unforgettable presence of Hannibal Lecter, among others, in German cinema.
Or Frank Laubrecht, tied to the charisma of Al Pacino, the sophistication of Pierce Brosnan. These weren't just voices, they were sonic icons, deeply embedded in the cultural psyche.
Precisely. These voices carried with them decades of cinematic authority and a vast emotional range. This wasn't coincidence or convenience. It was meticulously calculated. Genius. When these actors spoke on an E Nomine track, they didn't just say the words, they inhabited them.
Right.
They brought a performance quality, a depth of character, an emotional weight, a narrative gravitas that elevated the whole project way beyond simple narration. It turned listening into something like an immersive audio drama.
So unconsciously, as a German listener, you'd hear these tracks and your mind would automatically link them to epic Hollywood stories, De Niro's moral weight, Hopkins' chilling presence. That must have given the music an immediate, almost subconscious sense of grand scale and importance, making each track feel like a scene from some unwritten blockbuster.
Precisely. It was a masterstroke in creating an immersive narrative experience, a kind of sonic world building. It wasn't just about the words or the music, it was about the feeling of being part of something grand, significant, a cinematic journey unfolding in a club track or your headphones.
Yeah.
This clever, almost subliminal association amplified the emotional and thematic weight of their compositions, making you feel you were participating in something truly epic and deeply meaningful.
Okay, so after that monumental, debated debut with Das Testament, E Nomine kept evolving. 3 years later, 2002, they released Finsternis. The The source notes a distinct thematic shift, almost like the sky darkened. This album moved from biblical grandeur to gothic shadows. Yeah, that thematic shift was profound and intentional. Finsternis darkness plunged into much more introspective, primal, often haunting territory.
Okay.
It explored themes of the supernatural, ancient myths, the darker aspects of human nature, and the sonic atmosphere meticulously reflected that change. The beats were heavier, the synth lines sharper, the atmosphere's thicker with fog.
Wow. It was designed as music you could dance to, sure, but also music you could literally disappear into, letting your mind wander through shadowed cathedrals, ancient forests.
You can almost feel that shift in mood, can't you? The tracks illustrate it perfectly. Mitternacht, for instance, opened like a door into a moonlit courtyard. Cold, minimal, yet ominous.
Yeah, that's not just a song. It's a fully realized scene, a landscape crafted purely through sound. It immediately set up suspense, mystery, pulling you into this nocturnal world.
Right.
Then you have tracks like Das Tier in mir, Wolfen, which throbbed with primal energy, transforming the dance floor into a hunting ground.
Whoa.
Yeah, moving from the spiritual and abstract to the visceral, the instinctual, tapping into deeper, more ancient, untamed aspects of the psyche.
And Morgane Le Fay.
Beautifully sinister piece. Brought Arthurian legend into a swirl of strings and whispered Latin, seductive and dangerous, showcasing their remarkable ability to weave intricate mythological narratives into their evolving soundscape.
So Finsternis really broadened their emotional and narrative scope, didn't it? Not just biblical texts anymore, but archetypes, primal fears, the allure of the unknown, myths resonating across cultures.
Absolutely. It allowed them to explore universal themes, darkness, temptation, destiny, the wild within, resonating powerfully with a broader audience who maybe found the biblical focus of the first album a bit too specific. It opened their music up, deepened the connection for listeners drawn to this more gothic, atmospheric, archetypal sound. It was a natural yet bold evolution that significantly deepened the emotional landscape and narrative possibilities of their work, proved their concept was adaptable, multifaceted.
And if Finsternis was a descent into gothic shadows, then 2003's Die Prophezone the Prophecy sounds like a majestic ascent into apocalyptic grandeur.
Yeah.
The source describes it as nothing less than a sunrise over the end of the world. That's a powerful, almost overwhelming image.
It's profoundly evocative, and it perfectly captures the album's dramatically expanded scale and ambition. Here, the choirs were richer, the arrangements more like film scores.
Wow. They weren't just making club tracks with vocals anymore. They were crafting epic narratives, vast orchestral masterpieces that just happened to have a propulsive electronic beat at their core.
Right.
The overarching theme of prophecy, biblical, mythical, apocalyptic, allowed them to explore this truly vast canvas of human destiny, fate, the grand narratives of time itself.
And the tracks on Die Prophezeiung really reflect that immense scale. Excalibur charged forward like a knight in armor, blending medieval legend with club energy.
You can practically see the glint of steel, hear the hooves, feel the weight of destiny in every beat. It's incredibly vivid, cinematic.
Yeah.
And then Der Ringe der Nibelungen directly pulled Wagner's operatic weight into 4 minutes of thunder.
Wagner! That's ambitious.
Totally. A direct, unashamed nod to one of the most monumental works in history, showed their ambition was truly boundless, daring to reinterpret classical epics for a modern electronic context.
Amazing.
And yet, amidst all this grandeur, this thunder and storm, they offered Sternenzauber, described as a galaxy's worth of light in an album full of storms. A moment of beauty.
Yeah, a rare moment of exquisite beauty, showing a softer, more ethereal, almost cosmic side to their sound.
It's clear that with Die Prophezeiung, E Nomine cemented their ability to create these vast cinematic soundscapes that just transcended the typical club track, always reaching for epic narratives, grand myths, and almost operatic scale. And then something really unique and daring happened next, which kind of validated their whole journey.
Yes, the release of Die Prophezeiung Classic Edition in 2004, that was a critical, almost revelatory moment. In a bold, artistic move, they literally stripped out the electronic beats.
The core of their club sound.
Exactly, the thing that defined their commercial success, leaving only the pure orchestral and choral arrangements.
That's incredibly brave, self-assured, isn't it? To take away the element that got them onto the charts, the driving force of their initial appeal. But it feels like a conscious choice to prove something fundamental.
It was precisely that. A powerful, unequivocal validation of their core artistic vision. The Classic Edition proved this central concept beyond any doubt. E Nomine could hold its own on a dance floor or in a concert hall.
Wow.
It showed the narratives, the haunting melodies, the solemn choirs, the powerful voice acting. They were potent enough to stand completely alone. Robust, compelling, without the electronic elements as a crutch.
So it solidified their artistic credibility.
Absolutely. Showed their music wasn't just clever genre fusion, but about profound, inherent musicality, intricate compositional strength, timeless narrative power. Confirmed their work had depth and artistic merit far beyond the club context.
So they reached these incredible artistic and commercial heights, pushing boundaries, defining a unique sound, creating these sonic tapestries, and then abruptly silence.
Yeah.
The source states it so starkly, almost chillingly. No final album, no farewell tour, no explanation, just gone. An unexplained void.
It was an abrupt and utterly mysterious halt. And this vacuum of information, this sudden unexplained stop, rather than diminishing their presence, arguably amplified their mystique to almost legendary status.
Right.
The source mentions fans trading rumors online like fragments of prophecies. Was there a secret fourth album? Was Heilige a track whispered about for years ever really finished? This absence created space for speculation, for myth-making.
That's the power of the unexplained, isn't it? It fuels obsession, turns unreleased stuff into sought-after artifacts. Bootlegs and leaks kept the legend alive like sacred relics passed down. Fascinating how the lack of a conclusion spurred deeper engagement.
This unexplained silence, far from leading to their end, became integral to their enduring narrative. It ensured E Nomine's presence lingered not as a fading memory, but as an active, captivating mystery. It fostered this incredibly dedicated, almost devotional online community that speculated, shared, meticulously curated every scrap of info, keeping the flame alive through sheer passion and curiosity. The silence, weirdly, solidified their immortality.
And that passion led into what the source calls the forum years, roughly 2005 to 2020. During this time, E Nomine lived as much in cyberspace as in speakers. Not just physical albums anymore, it became this sprawling digital cult following.
Exactly. Remixes, often fan-made, spread on file-sharing networks, morphing, adapting the sound for new contexts. Fans treated clips from radio interviews like sacred relics, dissecting every word for hints.
Wow.
This wasn't passive listening, it was active, participatory engagement, a continuous act of communal discovery and preservation.
And remarkably, their club presence didn't die either. In Gothic clubs, Vater Unser still brought dancers together in the small hours.
Incredible staying power, right? For a track so conceptually daring and controversial nearly 2 decades after release, speaks volumes about its timeless appeal.
It really does.
It speaks to the enduring power of its unique atmosphere, its profound emotional resonance, its ability to transcend genre. And beyond the clubs, the music found vibrant new life in gaming and role-playing communities,
Ah, interesting.
where it effortlessly became the soundtrack to epic quests and dark battles. This organic, entirely fan-driven longevity is truly remarkable.
Yeah.
It shows how adaptable E Nomine's music was, finding new thematic integration, new audiences far beyond its initial release, cementing its cult status through digital sharing, creative application, and an undeniable ability to inspire imaginative worlds.
It's the ultimate proof of timeless music, isn't it? It just finds its way to new ears, new contexts, new generations, proving its intrinsic value. And that unwavering grassroots dedication eventually led to the big news, 2022, 2023, the remastering. After nearly 20 years of that silence, the announcement came like a beacon. All albums remastered, digital releases on every major platform.
A resounding rebirth. A huge moment for longtime fans and new listeners alike. For the fans who'd cherished worn CDs and lo-fi bootlegs, hearing Vater Unser in crystal clarity was like wiping the dust off an ancient icon and seeing its colors anew.
Wow, what a feeling that must have been.
Yeah, a rediscovery of a beloved sound, now with modern fidelity revealing layers and nuances previously obscured.
And it wasn't just for the old guard, right? Those who waited patiently. Old fans returned in force. A younger generation discovered a sound that had no true successor. Imagine stumbling upon E Nomine today, hearing these epic soundscapes for the first time. Must feel completely fresh, unique, arresting.
It does, and maybe the most compelling part of this resurgence, this modern rediscovery, is the undeniable confirmation of its timelessness. The source powerfully states that when placed Alongside modern EDM and playlists, the tracks didn't sound dated, they sounded timeless.
Timeless, not dated.
Exactly. This isn't just good production or digital polish, it's about the inherent quality, the profound originality, the conceptual brilliance of the music itself. It proves truly unique, exceptionally crafted music can defy time, cultural shifts, fleeting trends, continuing to captivate and inspire new listeners, reinforces the power of digital re-release in preserving and revitalizing musical legacies.
So why does it endure? What's the core philosophy, the essential magic that makes E Nomine not just memorable, but unforgettable? Our source puts it beautifully. E Nomine created more than music. They built a bridge between the sacred and the profane, between the medieval and the modern.
That's the central thesis of their lasting impact, the reason for their enduring relevance. Their music was never just background sound, never sonic wallpaper.
No way.
Instead, as the source says so well, when an E Nomine track played, the room became a set, the listeners became actors in a ritual. They didn't just provide entertainment, they consistently provided a transformative experience, blurring the lines, inviting you into a world where ancient solemnity and modern energy didn't just coexist, but actively merged, creating something entirely new.
That's why it hit so hard. It's not just songs, it's an immersive environment, a space you enter and are transformed by. The source really nails it. Perhaps this is why E Nomine remains unforgettable, because they show that music can be a place, a cathedral, a club, a battlefield, a dream.
A dynamic, transformative space living within your imagination.
Yeah.
And that space, that immersive world, is precisely where choirs and bass lines shake the heavens together. It's the ultimate fusion, the sacred and the profane in perfect, exhilarating harmony. Their enduring legacy stems from this unparalleled ability to create an immersive, transcendent, profoundly emotionally resonant experience that consistently challenged conventional musical boundaries and invited listeners into a powerful, almost spiritual journey, a testament to their visionary courage and artistic integrity.
So we've taken this incredible deep dive into E Nomine, a journey starting in the raw, vibrant streets of post-reunification Berlin, leading through the silent mystery of their disappearance to their powerful, resonant resurgence.
What a ride.
We've explored how two visionary producers dared to fuse ancient Latin, sacred choirs, driving electronic beats, creating a sound both controversial and captivating. We've seen how their inspired choice of iconic German voice actors lent cinematic authority, turning narration into epic storytelling.
Absolutely key.
And we've witnessed how their music resonated for decades, evolving through darkness and prophecy, thriving even through that mysterious silence, only to be rediscovered in crystal clarity for a new generation.
Indeed. We've seen that E Nomine truly built an audacious bridge between worlds, proving, with every thunderous beat and whispered Latin phrase, that music can be so much more than just sound.
Yeah.
It can be a transformative space, a ritual transcending time, genre, and even our deepest assumptions about art itself.
E Nomine showed us that music can be a truly immersive place, a cathedral, a club, a battlefield, or a dream. As you reflect on this journey, our listener, what other forms of art or expression beyond music might similarly transport you, or transform your perception of space and experience, blurring those boundaries we often assume are fixed?
That's a great question.
How can we seek out more of these profound, transformative rituals in our daily lives where the ordinary becomes extraordinary?
We definitely encourage you to explore the remastered works of E Nomine if you haven't already, or maybe revisit them with this new understanding of their profound conceptual depth and enduring impact.
In the name of music, E Nomine.